Hi and welcome to episode number 53 of Dreamers and Doers, where I interview people who follow their passion and use it to make the world better. And I think that's you, Stacy. Welcome to the show.
Well, that's a nice introduction. Yeah, thank you.
So I met Stacy at a workshop actually called Master Your Money. And I think you have a really interesting story going from personal development in general to being specifically more interested in money, and I'm quite interested in it because that's a topic I discovered myself in the last few months, realizing that personal growth was about spirituality, mindfulness, happiness, but also about the more earthly things like how to manage your money specifically. So we'll talk quite a bit about this, and as usual I'll start with my guest story, so to give a little bit of background for people about who you are.
Cool. So I'm originally from New Zealand, so if you can pick up on my accent, you get 10 points to start with. Moved to Australia when I was 21. At the time, from a pretty a naughty family, I guess you could say. We did all the naughty things. Lots of single family, low income, and then. Yeah, so I was trying to do this kind of university thing, which I did better with a bottle of whiskey and a bag of all sorts of stuff. So anyway, I quit that and I moved to Sydney when I was 21. I was on my way to Vancouver, and I worked in an office job and just struggled through life. And then when I was 28, I did the course that I was talking about. It's called the Wake Up Weekend, and there was an amazing guy at Till who I worked with in the promo industry, and there was something special about him, and I was like, what is up with this guy? And I asked him a couple of times, and eventually he mentioned the same course a couple of times. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And at the time I was broke. I had no friends. I was just not a very nice person, I don't think. And anyway, so I went to that course, woke up, realized that it was my point of view that determined my actions, which determined my results, which reinforced my point of view. So that's where I came up. That was why the company is called POVAR, P-O-V-A-R, Point of View, Action, Results. So at that point, I got to start working on my life, and I spent the first 5 years fixing up all the mess that I'd made, all the bad habits, the bad mindset, all the dialogue going on in my head. And after 5 years, so I would have been about 33. By that stage, I'd started to really get deep into my finances. And so that's when the next phase of my life began at the age of 33. So I'm 43 now. It might have been a bit earlier than that, but I generally think like 5 years. So the way I often talk about it is like, if this is a normal person, like an average person, I was 5 years down here. I was bad. Like I had all the bad things, unhealthy, unsocial, all that sort of stuff. Spent 5 years working to become normal. And then from normal, I was like, well, the trajectory is kind of good. So maybe I should just keep doing the same stuff.
And did you enter personal development through managing money?
No, it's a really interesting thing, because when I was 17, my mum used to date like bikies and gangsters and stuff, but there was this one little window where she dated this nice guy, and I remember coming home one time and he was reading a book in the lounge where we always watch TV. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, books. And so I managed to pick up a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People when I was 17.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that is because my head was all wrong, my habits were all wrong, but I was still reading good books.
Okay.
And I don't know if I was a very avid reader, but I'd probably read a couple of books a year, right? And so I was taking in the intellectual information, but because my mindset was wrong, I couldn't implement anything of it. So it's possible that I was building up some momentum.
You had that seed.
A bit of a seed, yeah. And there was a few wise phrases that I remember really latching onto. I didn't know how to apply them. I didn't really have any way of implementing those things in my life. But personal development was kind of always there. I wanted something bigger than the life that my entire family and everybody we knew had. So personal development was, when I did that weekend, I started to learn about the dialogue in my head. And I started to understand that, I have a good voice and a bad voice. And the game of life is to listen to these, build a relationship with these, and eventually to shut down the bad one, so to speak.
And did you start with the life design workshops? Like, did you start straight away doing those workshops? How did you put them together?
So life design is a consequence of that experience. That weekend that I did, within 6 months, I tripled my income, bought a house, bought a car, told my parents I loved them, written letters to people that I needed to write letters to, and done a whole bunch of cleaning up stuff, right?
How did you double or triple your income?
By taking action. By just being like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And just, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I stopped eating bad food. I got up at 6 o'clock, I made my bed every day, I was on time to all my appointments, and my life just went bang really fast. So as a result of that, anyway, so the life design as a concept is for people who go through radical change or find a massive burst of energy. Like Saturn returns is one of those common scenarios where people turn 27, 28, and they're like, oh my God, I feel like I can do anything. And the big question is, what am I going to do? So I was in that stage in my life. And I didn't really have anybody. I wasn't surrounded by wealthy and amazing people at that stage. So I had no one to say, hey, you should do this. So I just went everything and I did everything, So at the age of 33, I'd reduced my living costs. I'd done pretty well in my industry, which was promotional industry. So it's a low skill industry, but I'd nailed it and I'd done well. So my expenses were low, my income was okay, and I started to have an experience of being quite free. I didn't have to work all the time. I developed a lot of friends. I had a good energy going on because my growth was rapid and obvious, So life design was a consequence of my community asking me how I went from there to there. And by the time I started launching that workshop, I was actually starting to really shine, and my life was pretty good. So people were saying, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? How'd you do it? And if you can see in the background, it's because of those vision boards. The little one at the bottom.
Okay,
May 2009 I made that, so that's 10 years ago now.
So what's a vision board and how do you use it?
The vision board, well, it's a great question because I think there's a lot of people out there who see a vision board as a bunch of pictures you cut out of a magazine and stick it on a canvas. I agree that has an application, but for me, you've heard of a bucket list, right? Where you write the 100 things you want in your life. So this is a process that comes at the end of that. So you write your 100 things, you pick the most important ones, the ones that are going to really have radical impact from a spiritual, financial, career, purpose, perspective, and all the stuff and toys that we want, travel. Pick the ones that you really want the most. Then go online and you Google the exact stuff that you really, really want. And then you create a vision board in that respect. Like my bank accounts are set up from that. My career choices are set up from that. My relationships, my friends, my annual activities, my spiritual practice, everything is set up off that. That's not just a collection of nice pictures that looks nice on a wall. It's a very crafted visual representation of what I want in my future. Yeah, so I did that in 2009 after watching that movie, The Secret. And I followed the instructions to the T. And I didn't leave my house for 2 days. And I put a lot of effort into it. And it all happened. Well, there's a couple of things that haven't because it's about going to the moon and stuff. But everything that was possible has happened. And that's a big part of where life design came from.
Do you think the ones that didn't happen is because you think they're not possible?
Well, one of them was getting a black belt. I don't need to get a black belt anymore because I don't feel like fighting anybody. So it's not that they're maybe possible, or just my values changed.
That's the thing too. Like sometimes I feel like that's the thing with goals. I feel it's good to have goals, but at the same time keep a bit of flexibility because who you are in the process of achieving those goals will change. And you might have more different values, desire.
Yes, the overarching goal is to be happy. So
are you happy?
Unbelievably happy. Nice. Yes, I'm one of the most grateful people that there is, and I don't know how grateful everyone else is, but I honestly am very consciously grateful. I mean, my life is so easy. I make it hard because I like to create big things.
That's the big thing, right? It's gratitude. That's the ultimate hack for happiness.
Yeah, that is happiness, I think. I mean, happiness is the pursuit of a worthy goal. So, sitting around doing nothing, because I was retired at the age of 33 for 2 years, and I sat on grassy knoll in Bondi Beach, being retired, and thinking how cool I was. That got really boring, and my friends were still going to work in shitty jobs, and I had a craving to help them. And so I set out to do that with my spare time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, happiness is the pursuit of a worthy goal. That's Brian Tracy. And I really believe that that's where life design comes in again as well. Yeah.
Because some people are also very happy doing nothing.
I think
Not
they
much.
can maybe remain happy for a little while.
Yeah.
But, doing nothing, it runs out of steam. And you ask anybody who's
Like
actually...
monks, for example.
Well, they're not doing nothing.
Doing nothing is
I wouldn't
probably
say
not
they're
the
doing nothing.
best,
They're doing
yeah.
some of the hardest work on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But I
yeah,
mean,
you
not,
ask... yeah.
let's say not having what we would call ambitious goals. Or
Yeah, maybe they have...
living a simple life.
Yes, I believe that is the case. However, when somebody actually appreciates that if they have a simple life, if they have a level of success, and if they can acknowledge that there are people out there who need to know what they learn, or what they know, because those people are having a terrible time, and if they can connect with that, then it's very hard to go back from that realization.
Yeah.
It's like, I have an abundance,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to sit back and, just look at myself in the mirror and be grateful and I'm going to give it away as fast as I can. Yeah, I want to be burned up and used out before the end of my life, not just, sitting around.
Do you feel money helps to be happy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, they say, money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys pretty much everything else that makes you happy, like health, organic food, time so you can practice wonderful things. Money enables us to give and build and create and explore, and without money, I know too many people who have amazing stuff to share who have to work all the time because they don't have money. So it's very critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it doesn't have to be lots of money. It just has to be not worrying about money. Yeah, freeing up the RAM in our head so that we can think about bigger things, and freeing up the time. The idea of a 10 or a 20-hour work week.
But do you feel the worry about money is mainly cured by mindset or by more money? Because that's also, because for example in Bali, I'm obviously asking the question for me a lot. In Bali, I was meeting, for example, this guy who was like a nomad and living, and he didn't really have money, and he was staying from one place to another, and I was like, well, there's a part of that inspired me, but there's still not what I want to do. So
I see and hear a lot of people out there who appreciate that the mindset perhaps comes first, and I agree.
Because you can be a billionaire and be
miserable.
I think that's where
I know wealthy
gratitude
people with
kicks in.
more
I think your
problems.
secret is to have a lot of gratitude and also a lot of abundance. Like this, there's a...
Yeah, look, I just want to make it really clear.
Yeah.
There's people out there who think that they can speak money into existence or think money into existence, and I can appreciate that there's definitely a mindset component to it, but getting the mindset correct and speaking it into existence, so to speak, I think that is just a focal tool to enable people to do the work that's required. Because if I speak my intentions into existence and don't do anything, nothing's going to change, except for frustration, and that will eventually
and you're
dissipate.
referring to things like the law of attraction, for example.
Yeah, the law of attraction is choose what you want and then do something about getting it, not just choose what you want and stick it on a wall. It's not like that.
Yeah.
One of the things up there is the surfboard. I wanted to learn surfing and got a guitar. The next day I saw those things and I didn't just go, oh look, there's the guitar I put on the vision board. I asked about them and I acquired them. It's critical. Like you have to do the work too.
Yeah.
And the system makes that a whole lot easier.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the system you set up for money mastery, and also talking a bit about, so we talked about making more money, but how we often forget to think about the defense side?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so the financial stuff that I teach, the banking system, came as a result of the Life Design Workshop, because I encountered hundreds and hundreds of these amazing people who designed these wonderful futures for themselves. The two things that kept them back was having any kind of financial understanding, right? No structure. They have no structure. They had no structure. They had no understanding of literature. They couldn't talk about money. They didn't understand basic economics. So so I helped them with that over and over and over with this Excel sheet. And the other thing was finding their purpose and using it to create profit, to create some money.
Yeah.
So those two things, they're very money related, but they're actually about having a better life. So the first one, the financial stuff, it's very simple. It's an Excel sheet where you put in all the different things that you spend for your life. Like, you want me to go through some details like that, right? How it works?
Maybe quickly.
Yeah. So you put in all the spending of your life, and it shows you how much your life costs, how much you're making, and how much is left over. So
and we'll talk at the end
detail
about how people can follow you, and there'll be then details of the spreadsheets.
Yeah, and this is free, and so I highly recommend you get that done. And then that batches your spending into different sections, and then those sections can be transferred across to a banking system that you set up inside your internet banking for free. So the Excel sheet's free, the banking system's free, and it teaches. So this comes back to the reason I mentioned before, the good voice and the bad voice, because that's what's going on in our finances. It's like, I'm going to save, and then something changes, and so I'm going to spend. So this system actually addresses both the good voice and the bad voice. So it's built to accommodate that psychology of it all, which then frees people up to pursue their purpose and find their niche and build a business and create something amazing in the world. Yeah, they got to do that first.
Which is great, because I was saying, I'm a lot about awareness, but I realized at some point, if there was one thing I was putting under the rug, it was my money and the management of it. And I feel that can create a bit of anxiety, which doesn't allow to fulfill your purpose then. So
yes, that's right. It's a dirty little secret. Yeah, it's the spine.
And I like how you put a lot of meaning behind it, because it's about having a more free mindset. It's about allowing people to give their gift to the world instead of wasting time worrying about their money. Yeah, there's so much I could talk about here. Yeah, seriously. Money is a slow game. It's a slow game. Most millionaires become millionaires in their 50s, where on things like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and on TV, the millionaires we see made it real fast. Right? So everybody's sitting around looking for that quick thing that's going to make them really wealthy really fast. Bitcoin.
They're very rare. Their strategy is to make good money, sure, and work hard to make good money. And if there's an opportunity, take advantage of that and get in there and do what you can, because the odds are that those opportunities won't always be there. And then at the same time is to save the money that you make. Not just live a great life and go and buy cars and buy drinks for your friends, is to put it away, because there's so many rock stars that made a lot of money and now they've got nothing. And now they're on cornflakes ads, if they're lucky. So the trick is to save it and then invest it, of course. So then money works for you. Money does work for me. I like that, and it's good. And that's where it all begins, is people for the first time. So I sit here at this very table and people show me the truth, and they come in with their shoulders slouched and they sit here and they're like really embarrassed and they don't want to get into it. And then, I listen to them and I'm like, dude, this is so common. This is almost everybody. And then by the time they leave, they have some clarity, which gives them a kick in the pants. But then what I find, and this is the most beautiful part of it, before they walked in the door, they knew it wasn't working, and that's why they came here. 2 weeks later, after they've had some clarity around what the real numbers are, 2 weeks later, they're pretty much always, they call me and they're like, hey, I found that part-time job, or I've sold that thing, or I've cancelled that card, or I've paid that card off. And it's like they take that radical action that they knew they needed to take, but they just needed clarity on how urgent or timely, or they needed somebody to hold them accountable, basically. And when I'm like, hey, that's your figures, is that what you want? Then they're like, no, it's not what I want. And they fire up and they take care of themselves. It's huge, man. It's a big, big special day. It's such an honor to have that role in people's lives, because nobody else is doing it. Yeah. There's no one else doing that.
It's quite taboo.
It is, yeah.
Why?
Well, there's 3 things you're not supposed to talk about over the table, right? So, what is it? Politics, religion, and money. So subsequently, everybody has their own views on politics and religion, which is fine. But when it comes to money, I can tell you that the wealthy families who manage to keep their family money for generations after generation, they absolutely talk about money over the table. And that's why they've got money, you know? Yeah. And the worst thing is that there's some amazing people, our best friends, people we're really close to, and even our family members who are constantly struggling with their finances, and nobody has a clue. The chances are, anyone listening here the chances are that I would say from what I've seen, 3 out of your 5 closest friends are going through serious trouble with their finances. They won't show you that. They'll still buy dinner, they'll buy drinks, and they'll have nice clothes on, but they're most likely living week to week or going backwards. 3 out of 5. And that I'm talking here in the affluent suburbs. So I have no idea what's going on out there. The banks are winning, mate, and it's not okay.
Can you share on that?
Well, mate, there's so much to it. So, I mean, we pay them interest. I mean, I don't, but people pay them interest on money that they don't have and they've spent in advance. I don't think they're doing it on purpose, but are the banks winning? Yeah, financially, they definitely are.
What do you say is true? Like the loans they give is just lines in computer. It's not money they have.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not necessarily the bank's responsibility to teach people how to spend their money properly. But one thing I do know that is changing, that everybody needs to know about, is that in the past, you used to get a mortgage if you walked in with 10%. 5% when I bought my first house. It was 5%, that was amazing, or 10%. 10% or 20% deposit. In the past, that was what they judged you on. Do you have the deposit and do you earn X amount per week? Nowadays, they're actually looking at where all your disposable income goes. And I can tell you most people have no idea. They can think in their head, I buy bread and I buy petrol and I buy drinks and I buy eBay stuff every now and then, whatever. But they have no grasp on what those figures really are. What percentage of their income is discretionary and where is it all going? No one has a clue. And so that's what they're actually judging mortgage applications on now. So people need to know that, because if you're thinking, no one wants to buy a house right now, but at some stage in the future you will, probably, or it's some kind of financial loan.
Yeah, it's crazy how much I went from like being really high paid as an employee to way less when you start your business. You're more conscious about how you spend your money, and then I realized, wow, at some point I had 2 rents, one in Bondi, and I was working in freshwater. I was like, and a year later I'm like, why didn't I save that money? That's
20 grand,
that's so stupid. Like, and then I looked at how much I was spending on booze, sometimes $200 a night or things like this. And so that's why you come back a bit to taking care of the defense first, so how much you spend to see. And I really like your system, which is you don't have to chase more and more money. You look at how much you need, and then you're like, okay, that's what I need to make to have financial freedom. So do you want to describe what financial freedom is?
Great question.
And how was that right mindset about knowing how much you spend, so you're not caught in that loop of always wanting to make more and more and more.
That's right. Yeah. So out there in the normal world, everybody talks about how to make more money, which is great. But what I've seen, and I'm sure everybody could relate to this, is that as the money goes up, the expenses go up. You get a pay rise, so you get a nicer car and a bigger TV. You get another pay rise, so you go out for dinner more and you buy more gifts, and so on. So most people are living week to week like that. And they might be saving. And in Australia, we're lucky because 10%, well, lucky in a sense, 10% for people with jobs is taken away for super.
Yeah.
Whether that's still there, whether it's going to be GFC'd and obliterated, who knows? But anyone who's self-employed is not getting super. So, big problem. Financial freedom, my definition at least, is when my fixed, so this is my fixed expenses, right? So this will be from my rent, my car insurance, my, what else is fixed expenses? Your mobile phone, your internet, your gas bill, your electricity, your, all those various things, your gym fees and all that sort of stuff. So fixed expenses. And your variable expenses, which is things like just holidays and food, and they're all variable. So you figure out how much they are. What's your fixed expenses and your variable expenses? Offset by passive or semi-passive income. So you need to find a way of creating a passive income or a semi-passive income that is the same as this. Now, the trick is, most people try to live fancy. They buy the drinks, they buy the dinner, they wear the nice clothes, they have the nice car, and so their expenses are really high.
Yeah.
So therefore, the target's much harder. You know, and there's nothing new in this house. My fixed expenses are very low, like ridiculously low. So it's very easy for me to be financially free. And I've had that strategy for a long time. And when your fixed expenses are low and your income's good, you can save a lot. So the trick is to not care what other people think and to actually
and you can save a lot, or you can save a lot, or you need less to make income, so you can have more time.
Work
you
less.
Can choose.
Yeah, work less, so you can create things like financial systems for people who need it, and life design workshops. You can help people find their micro niche. You can go on holidays around the world. You can do crazy, amazing
write a
things.
book. Do you plan to write a book?
I am actually, yeah. I'm 16,000 words in. So
Nice.
yeah, it's like it makes life very easy. Reduce the expenses. You know, I actually know people who buy expensive things to impress the person who they're giving their card to. There's no one else who's going to be impressed. Like, I'm going to buy this really fancy thing. Check me out. Poof. And it's just a retailer. Like, they don't understand that that's what they're doing, but I see it happen. No one else is impressed. And, you know, there's so many people that drive around and you know, live beyond their means or right at their means to impress total strangers. You know, no one cares. Well, I can buy my car every week if I want to. You know, I drive a cheap car and I can replace that every single week. Like, that's a different, you know? Yeah, there's some great... Millionaire Next Door is a very good book around that subject. I highly recommend you read it.
Okay, well, yeah, do you have a few book recommendations?
Oh, I sure do. Can I go and
Let's
grab them?
keep,
I'll
well,
just go and grab them and stick them
it's a
here.
podcast. Most people won't see it,
yes,
so
of
don't
course.
worry. But like maybe 4 or 5 books.
Yes. T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Barefoot Investor. Those two books are, they have a similar structure to what I teach in the banking system. They both refer to bank accounts and stuff. They don't have what I call the splitter account, and they certainly don't have the Excel sheet that sets it all up for you properly. So those two are really good. They'll teach you the mindset and the structure behind what I'm teaching with the Excel sheet. Richest Man in Babylon. If you don't read books and you want to get your money started, Richest Man in Babylon is a great place to start. Looking over there. Millionaire Next Door is a really good one. I highly recommend. Anyone who's got a good income needs to read that, because the other people in your office who have also got, you know, in theory, a good income, they're all competing against each other, and you know, and everybody has to buy a Lexus because the other people have got a BMW and a Mercedes. So you've got to have a nice car. Like, if you can just get that out of your way and just drop the ego bit and save some money,
So a lot of it comes down to finding your worthiness from inside and not from the material things, as because there's a programming going on in a very consuming, high consumption society where we are at least subconsciously educated to think that we are worth our status or our things, and that these things make us happy, right? So it's one thing to say this and say, oh, the nice car doesn't make you happy, but I feel it might be deeper than this. Is there something you recommend to look into?
Absolutely.
Being worthy without these things.
Well, you know, I think
things?
that's what the American student economy is built on. It's like, if you get the degree, then you have the status, but you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long run with all the interest. You pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for that status, and you can never actually get ahead financially because you're so far in debt. So yeah, in the same respect, I think there's one thing that really fits in nicely here. I heard once, and I've this, in the old days at least, it used to be very true for me. 95% of the people I know today won't be around in 5 years from now. 95% of the people in my world today won't be in my world in 5 years.
Okay.
And I think for most people, the 5% that will be there in 5 years, they don't care what car I drive. They don't care what clothes I wear. What they care about is, do I honor my word? Do I keep my promises? You know, do I say nice things about them? Whatever else. But the other 95% is usually what most people are trying to impress. And they're not going to be there. But what will be there is the the footprint of your finances, that's going to be there.
Yeah.
And those other 5% that will be there, they want you to win. The other 95% might, in theory, want you to win, but they don't care about. I don't know. I hope that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does.
So the idea is to invest in yourself, because when I have money, I have stores. I have backup money, and I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, which means I can be so much more free. I can just I can take exciting pathways with my life, and it's not because I'm rich. It's because my expenses are low, and I'm really clear on where I am. Where I have so much detail. I can draw a pie chart of my investment portfolio right now and tell you the exact percentages. I've got this much in property, this much in gold and silver, this much in crypto, this much in cash, this much in my business, and this much in shares. And people should, whether they have the money invested or not, they should be able to draw what they want their pie graph to look like. But of course, those are the things that just aren't taught. Like, no one even knows. Most people listening wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about. The investment portfolio. What's your risk? What's your risk tolerance? How old are you? And how much are you prepared to push and play with things? So at 43, my pie graph's going to look a certain way. And at 21, my pie graph would look a whole lot different. Well, maybe it would. I don't know. But if I was,
And something that says in another really good book, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh yes, of course.
Is it's about how we are taught a job, which a big part of it is how to make money, but we're never taught anything about money. So it's funny to think we spend time in an education system being like, okay, that's your job, that's how you make money, but no one teaches you how to manage it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if people knew how to manage their money, they wouldn't have to stay at their job, and that wouldn't work very well for the machine.
Yeah, I think, like, every system's try to preserve itself, right? So it's definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of conspiracies around the schooling system and the Matrix and all that sort of stuff, but I think if people were taught basic finances. And that's one of the key things to this Excel sheet. That's why I want 1 million people to do this by the end of the year. Because I know that when people do that Excel sheet and they see exactly how much their life costs them and how much they're earning and where their position is, that gives them the ability to make changes. Because prior to that, they can make changes, but they can earn more money, but then they accidentally spend more money. And it just happens naturally. They don't know. They might hustle and they get a pay rise, but then they spend that pay rise. So the benefit of having these people, 1 million people filling out, I want people who are earning, let's say, between 75 and 200,000 a year to fill out this Excel sheet. Only because I'm making an assumption here that the big corporate systems that are doing damage to our environment and to our society in regards to, income disparity and homelessness and various other, things that aren't being addressed in society, but also to the environment. I think a lot of those big corporate machines that have the ability to pay those big salaries to the large staffing pool, I'm not just talking about the CEOs, and the rich, the top of the pyramid, but those people, I want them to be in a position where they can leave if they want, and if they have detailed information around their personal finances, and if they can understand about reducing their living costs, then that's going to give them the ability to actually do what you did, and get out of that machine and actually come over to this, this other side perhaps that's not having a negative footprint on the environment and our society, and actually start to work on something that's creating good. And I think it's, you can speak to David Attenborough about this. Like, this has to happen now. We're in a rush. Like, there's no time to sit around and hope someone else will do it. Like, I'm taking action. I'm trying to save our planet just like you are, and it's urgent. So, and this is my tool for doing it.
Yeah. And that's often, there's like so much prejudice around money, like money is the root of all evil or other things, but it's true that without falling into greed, managing well your money, especially the defense side, is so important. Like, to be honest, I'm way more fulfilled now making way less money than I used to, and it's not the goal. Like, I want to actually make more money as both for myself and the experiences I want to have, but also as an example and to empower people, because I believe in a world where people actually make more money when they do what they love, because I think it'd be a way better world. But even regardless of that, when you start managing your money, you have that freedom, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And until they start, people spend a lot of time managing their business finances. Well, actually, some people don't at all. And in fact, for a lot of startups and small entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and small businesses, they're all mixed in together, which is that's a really bad place to start. So if you're in that situation, you need to get that Excel sheet. Yeah, split your business finances from your personal finances. You've already heard that. I don't need to explain that. That's a good idea. But this Excel sheet will help you do that. So that's a really good start. I forgot where I was going. Oh well.
Yeah, but I was talking about like living better with less when you're free from not working for someone and for a job where you don't derive a lot of purpose.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important about it. With the small business stuff, that's where I was going with it. That with the small business, most people. So I have had the pleasure of helping a lot of people leave their job through the life design process and the niche discovery process that I do, helping them leave their job and work in a field that they love.
Yeah.
Right. And a field that is like truly aligned with their values. I help people assess their values, find their micro niche, and point them in the right direction. And I give them permission to do it, because people just need permission. It's amazing how many people will be like, oh yeah, clearly that's exactly for me, and I'm like, okay, go and do it, and they're like, oh no. And it's like, no, you got it. You have permission. And I like get on Facebook and be like, hey, this person's doing this,
Accountability.
So and it really is. You saying like when you said money is the root of all evil, I hear that a lot, and I don't think it is at all. I think the corporate structure that we have, which is designed, its design is to make profit. That's it can't get away from that. It's designed to make profit, and that's, I think, the core of most of the damage that we're doing. I wouldn't say it's evil, because each individual in that structure is just trying to make the best income they can for their families, send their kids to school, buy their wife more handbags or something like that. They're not doing anything wrong as such. They're individuals in a machine that's designed wrong. So, my goal is to actually bring that structure down and to change it so that people on the planet are in the middle of it. And it really comes down to enabling those individuals to, identify their purpose, to master their finances, and to choose their future, to get some goals in line so that they actually have a reason to get out of there and start something new. Yeah. How did you make that change in your life? Did you have a big goal, or did you have an epiphany one day when you left the system?
It's been pretty smooth for me, because I read the 4 Work Week when I was 20, and since then I was like, yes, that's the life I want. And that's why when I was 23, I came to Australia and worked in startups. I did a year in like banks and private equity. I was like, that's not for me. I worked in startups, and in startups I had my side businesses. So I accelerated on the journey through discovering personal growth too. Then I was like, okay, so I had that seed in my mind that I wanted to have my own business and be an entrepreneur for a while. But that's when I discovered something I was passionate about, that was really like, whoa, okay, I want to have my thing, and I know kind of what I want it to be. So it was like the signal.
Yeah, that's
2 years ago.
Isn't it? Yeah, people always look for the perfect thing to be. And I think from my journey at least, and what I've read in hundreds of books, the idea is to pick something, whatever feels good right now and start it. Yeah. Because it will evolve.
I also listen to a lot of podcasts from Peter Thiel, or like inspiring entrepreneurs. I read the biography of Steve Jobs, and listened a lot to Tim Ferriss' podcast. And there's something that comes back a lot. It's like, there's never going to be the best time, as you just said. Yeah. So when you understand that, you're building that clarity that it's now.
Yeah. Yes, to help somebody or help a group of people now. Yeah, straight away, like as soon as you can, because your life will just become so magical when you do that. And the more people you help, and like this is like stock standard personal development stuff, but it's so true. The more people you help, the more magic turns up, and and money comes as a result of solving problems for people. Yeah. I
think also some of my routines, doing meditation for a year got me really clarity and some kind of perspective, because I think people are overestimating risk. Like when I quit my job 2 years ago, some people are like, oh my God, it's so risky. But like, how risky is that? Like I was like, actually I can try 6 months If I don't like it, I get a job back. It's like, it's not like, so people often tell me, oh, it's super brave what you do. I'm like, yeah, I mean, some people cross the Mediterranean every day and they risk their lives, right? What I do is like, yeah, quit a job and maybe, but it's not, when you have perspective, it's not that risky.
Yeah, if somebody knows how much their life costs and how much they can get it down to, then, the worst thing that can happen is you have to work a 10-hour job so you can pay your rent and buy food.
Yeah. But that's still, I mean, and that's not my ideal scenario, but,
Yeah, but that's
still okay.
and then that evolves into something
Yeah.
else. Yeah, I mean, there are some countries in the world where if you quit your job, you could actually end up dead and starving on the side of the road. But not here. No. Unless you've been horrible to everybody you've ever met and there's nobody there to back you up. And if that's the case, you need to go through that anyway.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about your experience when you went into Europe, which was when you had financial freedom and you did your dream job.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. I reduced my expenses to a point where my living costs at the time were $350 a week.
Yeah, because I think that can be really relatable, because then it's like a bit at the start of the journey too.
Well, yeah. So my living costs were $350 a week. So I could earn that in one day, and sometimes I'd work for 7 days or 14 days on an event, and that would cover me for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'd reduce my living costs to a point where it actually worked out that if I moved out and went overseas, I could rent my room out, and my life was free.
Okay.
Right. Wow. So it was pretty simple. So I got to a point where I was like, okay, so if everything on that vision board worked, actually it was part of the vision board. It got to me to a point where I was like, okay, so how wild can I get this? How big can I go? And one of my goals was summer in Europe and summer in Sydney. And everybody that saw the vision board, which was most of my close friends, got to see that was one of the main things that I wanted. So my brother Jason, who actually he's staying here at the moment, he saw that job online, and he sent me the application, and I applied, and I put a lot of effort into it, and I got the job, and I ended up with summer in Europe, summer in Sydney, and I ended up doing 11 summers in a row. And it was amazing. I got paid to study history, to see all of Europe, to just do, quite frankly, the best touristy things in the world.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And so actually it was after my first year of that was when people were like, dude, how the hell have you pulled this off? I went from this broke, fat, lonely alcoholic with no friends, no relationship with my parents. I was late, I was complaining, I was getting demoted in every job I was in. I was heading nowhere. And then within 4 or 5 years, I'd sorted my life out normal. And then I just kept that trajectory up. And next thing you know, I was, summer in Europe, summer in Sydney. I had business paying for my life. I would spend on the way to Europe, I'd spend a month in Thailand on hammock, and then 6 months traveling around Europe, and then a month on the way home. This is a really cool tip. On the way home, I would always pick 3 really different countries. So it might be like Morocco, and then Abu Dhabi or something, and then in Vietnam. 3 really strongly juxtaposed trips. So that was a really cool way to come home. So I just got to do that over and over. And yeah, people ask me all the time how I did it, and I realized that the questions are quite consistent. So I ran a little workshop. I was like, oh, this is kind of looking same. Yeah, so I ran a workshop and got a standing ovation, went home, cried my eyes out, and realized that was what I should be doing with my life.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
and
really
thanks,
powerful.
because I think it's really helping a lot of people. So again, we'll put the link to the spreadsheet. And I have a question about, do you have practices around abundance mindset? Like, do you shout in the morning, I love money and money loves me, as I've heard people doing? Or like, there's a practice I'm doing, for example, which is combining gratitude with paying. So every time I pay for something, I'm grateful to be able to afford it, which is a way to give gratitude to money. Do you have practices?
Well, it's an interesting thing to consider. I read an hour a day, right? When I wake up in the morning, it's a cup of coffee and I read for an hour. So I've been doing that since 10 years. The only time I haven't done that is at Burning Man, where there is no morning and certainly no reading.
And no brain to read. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a very stimulating place. Anyway, I think when it comes to money, my main practice is actually every 6 months or so, I do that Excel sheet again and I review it. Sometimes even less. Depends. If I have a change, so I moved into this house different, new scenario, go do the Excel sheet. But I think my daily practice really is just logging into my internet banking every day. I have a relationship with my bank accounts. They have special names, they're not just a number. They have special names, and there's all these wonderful things happening inside my bank account. So it's my favorite app, and it doesn't matter what bank it is. It's just building a relationship with what's happening there and seeing the little incremental growth. Like sometimes I set people up so that they pay into a savings account $1 a week. $1 a week. It's not about the money. It's about the habit. It's about the practice. It's about enjoying that growth. Now, for somebody who's never saved anything, or they might save and then they spend and they save and they spend and they're frustrated with where it's heading, just $1 a week into an account that says, I don't know, you could call it I love money or money loves me, or you could call it, golden rule account is my suggestion. And
I could do that for my monthly coffee, $1 a week, and at the end of the month.
Yeah, because the thing is to just have an experience that I'm in control of my finances, I have at least an element of control, and it's not just destroying. Just before we sign off, I just want to go through where money matters. If you don't have control of your finances, it influences the food that you get to eat. Right? You can't buy good quality, superfoods and organic foods. So that means that your stomach is suffering. That means that your skin is suffering. And that means that your energy levels are suffering. And subsequently, that actually means that you can't wake up energized in the morning, which means you can't do your best pretty much ever. So that's just a little bit about the food. It influences how often you can go out and meet people. So if you're single, yes, it makes a massive difference. You can't, dress in nice clothes. You can't keep up with fashion if that's what you want to do. You can't actually do the sports and fitness things that you want to do. With money, you can't invest. You can't be excited about things. You can't plan holidays. You can't even go and visit your parents if you can't control your finances. You can't choose your career. You can't study to get out of your current job. You can't live in a house that you like. You can't live in a suburb with inspiring people. You can't live in a safe suburb. Like, there is almost nothing that's not influenced. And I'm not talking about being rich. I just mean having some comprehension of what's going on and having some element of control. So, right now, if you're not good with your money, and if even listening to this has been difficult, then just acknowledge that that's the same for almost everybody. And there's a very thin veil between you, where you are now, and the other side. And all you've got to do is peek through there once and take a critical analysis, an objective analysis. Don't beat yourself up for what you're doing. Just be honest and just say, oh, look at that. That's my habits. It's like when somebody wants to lose weight, what they should do first is probably weigh themselves so that they can track it. Yeah. So the first thing you got to do is just analyze where
awareness.
it's at.
It's like when you start with, is it Alcoholics Anonymous?
Take an inventory.
First thing you do is like, hey, I'm Alex and I'm an alcoholic. You have awareness.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a wonderful thing to do. And you don't have to change. You just have to watch. And just by observing what's going on, you will enjoy the journey and you will naturally make wiser decisions. For everybody who's just tapping their card until it beeps, until it runs out, like that's causing you drama in every single aspect of your life. And it will continue to be that way until you change. And we need you to step up and do something amazing with your life. The world needs you to be activated and able to serve. So sort it out, please.
Boom. That was powerful.
Yeah, it's really important,
Yeah, it is. It is, and I've already thanked you a lot for what you're doing, but also here you work a lot with people who do what they love, like in the conscious community, and I've always really supported the fact that if you help them manage their money better, it makes the world better. So good segue to the question I like to ask at the end of these interviews. Stacy, what do you want, and I think we covered a bit, but what do you want your impact in the world to be, in a nutshell?
I want to be the guy that told me at the age of 17 to read a book. I want to be to somebody who doesn't have people to turn to, I want to be available to them, because there are so many people who don't have access to a regular person they can relate to who has some wisdom to share. So for me to do that, I need to be very widely spread, Tony Robbins style. But I'm not going to be 6'3" and screaming.
But you definitely have a beautiful heart, and thanks. I can feel you really want to help people, which is beautiful to see.
Yeah, well, it feels good. Yeah. Cheers, bro.
Thank you, Stacy. How can people follow you?
Povar.life, POVAR, which stands for that point of view action results. .life. The money thing is povar.life/money, and you can just download it there. Otherwise, Stacy N Henderson is the easiest way to find me. Otherwise, you can follow me at Bondi Markets on Saturday.
And a little tradition that I'm sure you'll love in this podcast is we finish with a big warm hug.
Yay! Cheers,
Big
brother.
hug. Thank you, Stacy. That's great. And thank you for the people who listened. I hope you got as much value as I did from this interview, which would be a lot. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, guys.
Sweet. Till next time. Thanks, Alex.